hello, hello. I have Sasha Strauss with me. I'm very happy to have him because that is a person who loves branding. He was studying in UCLA and then he was teaching in UCLA, which I think one of the best universities in the world. And he was teaching branding. Oh, you cannot imagine, Sasha, all people want to be in that university. And it is such a beautiful location and beautiful place. And you were teaching for students, you were teaching and explaining for the biggest companies like Nestle, like Lego, speaking at TEDx and speaking to huge corporations. So this is a guru of branding. Dear Sasha, hello.
Hi, Olga. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with you. And my first question to you, do you think English Queen?
It's a really interesting question. And of course, as everyone knows, we lost the Queen of England yesterday. And the reason why your question is so relevant is that a brand in general is made up of many things. It's made up of names, it's made up of messages, it's made up of personas. And when you think about the brand of the United Kingdom, you cannot think about it without the royal family and its history. And what's special about Queen Elizabeth II is that she maintained a consistent identity for the entirety of her reign, which we learn in branding. That consistency, that trust that is built through doing things the same way over time is the foundation of good brand building. So she was a perfect example of a brand and something that we all can learn from.
Let's say it's a very elegant example, Queen Elizabeth. But let's say if we talk now, we are in England, about Mr. Bean. He's also a brand of somebody funny, not serious, and very cute and very ridiculous, isn't it?
Yes, but same concept is that Mr. Bean is consistent, right? He's been doing his same kind of quirky character for 30 years. And as soon as he flashes on the screen, you know what you're going to get. You put the remote down, you sit back and you stay entertained. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter how old you are, you know what you're going to get. And then again, that is the power of good branding, is that the audience does not need to be re-educated. The audience does not feel like this is new and distracting. They feel familiar, they feel comfortable, and they're willing to invest. And so whether it's Queen Elizabeth or Mr. Bean, they're great examples of branding.
So our first question is really about branding in turbulent times. Now when there's many things collapsing, the country is collapsing, the world order collapsing, there is new normal, old normal, I don't know, you name it. There are so many names for that. And a lot of people, they say, what about branding? I don't know how to live. There is no time, there is no money, there is no chance for me to do branding of my company, and I'm not a blogger. I don't know how to do. Look at my nails. I cannot do that, so I cannot do branding. So, do we need branding, and how to do branding in new normal times?
Well, let's just say that any situation where an audience is making a choice, they have choice, branding is necessary. So, turbulent times or not, small market or large market, if the audience, the consumer, the citizen, the patron has the power to choose between more than one option, branding is necessary. So doesn't matter how bad the economy is, doesn't matter how bad conflict is going on. If consumer, audience, citizen, persona is choosing, brands help them make choices. So that's the first answer to your question. The second answer to your question is that when people feel like they're empowered to make a choice, when they say, I can buy this rice or I can buy this rice is more interesting, this rice has a better picture, this rice uses my language, etc. It makes them feel good, which is incredible because isn't it just rice? Isn't it just food? No, when a consumer citizen is making a choice and they feel good about that choice, it affects their whole day. It affects their worldview. It affects the way that they prepare that food and serve it to their family. So even in turbulent times, When consumers are making choices, branding is necessary. And two, branding adds value even in small decisions, low price decisions, because it adds an emotional contribution to the choice the consumer is making. And that emotional contribution is a gift. It lightens them, it inspires them, it makes them curious, it gets them to try something. And we need that. When the world is in the midst of conflict, when there are hard times about, we need to be lifted. And it's interesting that brands have the power to do that.
So, as I understood, anything can be a brand. Sasha Strauss is a
Okay.
brand, Olga Sapochnikova is a brand, Kazakhstan is a brand, Poland is a brand, Paris is a brand, UCLA is a brand. But how for people who have a small enterprise, they don't have as much money as UCLA to brand themselves. They have, let's say, a restaurant, or they have
Yeah.
how they can brand themselves. They don't have 1 million every year to invest in the branding.
Well, it's interesting because it's actually easier to brand a small business than it is to brand a large one. So, before any of your listeners sort of feel unmotivated or dismayed because they're not a big organization with millions of dollars to spend on their brand every year, they should feel lucky that they're not a big organization that has to spend millions of dollars every year. It's much, much easier to build a small brand than a big one. So if I am a restaurant, I am a barber, I'm a local service provider, I only need to worry about the people in my perimeter, the people that live within a few kilometers of my facility. And so it's so much easier to build a brand for that finite audience, for that defined audience, than it is to try and build a global one. So that's my first answer to your question, and why even the smallest of businesses should be thinking about brand as a worthy investment. Second thing is that if you get someone to come to your salon and get their hair cut, the most important thing is that they come back. That's the most important thing, is that they come back. So, small business, individual, doesn't matter how big you are, if you are getting someone to buy something, donate to you one time, it took you so much time and energy to get them to come into your restaurant, come into your salon, that your highest priority, more than making money on that single transaction, your highest priority is to get them to come back. Well, that is branding. Branding creates familiarity. Branding instills trust. It gets people to feel a connection and know that the experience they're having will happen again when they return. And
Uh,
so, even if you are a small business,
Sasha,
you
but
need to be
how
thinking
to
about that.
keep for the business? Imagine you say that you always should be at that high spirit to make your customer come back to you to receive that
Yes,
experience not less than the first time, but maybe even
yes,
better, so they will be able to come back. How the owner, okay, the first time he's happy that you're coming to his barber salon. The second time
yes.
it's a normal. He is already he is already in the habit of you coming, but he still need to surprise you and to make sure that you will come back. How to find this motivation to be at that high level again?
So, I like your question, but I want to correct the misperception that branding is about enthusiasm, that branding is about new energy every time. I don't agree. If I come to a salon to get my nails done, if I come every time and there's like balloons and loud music, it gets a little ridiculous. But maybe I just want the same comfortable chair. Maybe I want the temperature similar. Maybe I want the nice music quietly in the background. Those things don't require boom and blast enthusiasm. It's a calculated decision by the salon owner to say, you know what, we're always going to have nice classical music playing overhead. We're always going to have the right temperature. We're always going to have nice chairs. So no, I don't agree that an entrepreneur owner needs to come at you every single time and throw pizzazz. They'll actually annoy you if they do that. So even when the customer is coming back for the 5th time or the 10th time, no owner should feel a responsibility to be like to put on a show. They're just trying to create a experience that is consistent so that the person starts to feel comfortable. And this is what's key. There's a misperception that branding is about surprise. Branding is about wow moments. That is not correct. Consumers actually don't want to be surprised. We like to feel informed. We like to feel like we know what we're going to get. And once we know it, we like it to be the same. We trick ourselves into believing that we like to make new choices. We do not like to make new choices. We
Mm.
make the same Turkish coffee every morning. We tend to wear the same kinds of jewelry. We like things to be similar. And so that's all that a small business needs to be thinking about, which is what will be similar every single time the customer comes back so that they feel comfortable and they have a sense of consistency.
So it's the thing that's happening in Starbucks. You go into this coffee latte every day and you know it's the same and it looks like your home. And that's why instead of drinking this coffee in your house, you're going there because this is the second point. Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. And you look at the Starbucks menu and there are many choices, many different interesting choices, but you do not make a new choice. You go order the exact same thing every single time you walk into that coffee shop. And that's the point, is that you know it will be the same. So whether you go to Starbucks in here or over there, you know you're going to have the same experience. And that's my point. The consumer doesn't want new, flashy, different. We like consistent, same, trustworthy, familiar. And that's the point for all of your listeners to think deeply about their business. Not what are they going to create new every day, but what are they not going to create new every day? What are they going to consistently deliver so that the audience feels like there's trust that is worthy?
It's interesting. You speak a lot and you mentioned the word security and safety. That means that the
Yes,
branding in its safety and security, which we are, by the way, lacking at the moment, and we want to have it.
you're right. And that's what's so interesting about turbulent times is that we want our governments to create a sense of safety. We want our religions to create a sense of safety, but they can't. So, what about our purchases every day? Can what we're buying create a sense of safety? Yes. Yes, it can. And that's the interesting power about being a business owner, about being someone who runs an organization, is that you might think that you're just trying to sell product, but in reality, in the life of your consumer, you are giving them the gift of safety, consistency, trust, familiarity, something that they desperately desire.
And I want to add to this, as a person who 20 years lives in Dubai, I think Dubai is an example of a great brand. It's a country that happened from nowhere, from the desert, and now with these huge buildings, Burj Khalifa, shining things, luxury, it's Dubai.
It's not only a great example, but what's really interesting about the Sheikh and his plan for Dubai was he started working on the brand 30 years ago. Before it was this international hub, before all of the enterprise and skyscrapers, he hired branding agencies as some of his first investments because he understood that there is no familiarity, there is no established trust. People do not know what to expect of Dubai. And so he decided from the beginning that he was not going to leave that perception to chance. He was going to research, evaluate, define, and activate a consistent story that has enabled him, and now that he's passed, enabled his successors to absolutely carry on a incredible future. Like Dubai went from the world doesn't know what Dubai is to now you can't mention the Middle East without referencing Dubai. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's
Branding.
unbelievable. In one of your interviews, you said that the people with whom you're working now, are giving 10% to charity, to non-profit, and that is very important. Uh, why are you doing
Yeah.
this? You know, like let's say in Christianity, of course, we have that 10% should be given to poor, and I think maybe in many religions. But why you were also mentioning that that is very important to you?
Yeah, let me add some more understanding to what you just pointed out. I own a business. I have 30 employees. It's a 16-year-old company, and we do brand strategy consulting. Corporations, universities, religions, they pay us to help them define who they are and why they matter to build audience trust. We commit that with 10% of our time, our resources, our education capabilities, we're going to spend that time helping nonprofits. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, you pick the religion, you pick the region, you pick women, the homeless, doesn't matter. We do brand strategy consulting for nonprofits. And let me explain why this is important. We need the nonprofits, we need non-governmental organizations, we need these or individuals and or institutions that are really in service to the population. And the problem is that they often are not well run, because you've got volunteers or you've got executives who are working on many things. And so what I believe is that the best charity you can give, any of us, the best charity you can give is not money. The best charity you can give is your expertise. If you're a lawyer, if you're a banker, if you're a travel expert, the best thing that you can give is helping nonprofits with banking, helping nonprofits with legal affairs, helping nonprofits arrange travel for their beneficiaries. So, what does my company, Innovation Protocol, do? We give our expertise to nonprofits to help them succeed. And you're asking me why, and I do not have a good answer. Um, why? Because we want to. Um, why? Because it feels good. Why? Because we get to practice our expertise in a way where we're not making money, and that makes us better at our job. Why? Young employees really get motivated when they do nonprofit work. Why? When big customers hear about our company and we show them that what they are going to spend $1 million doing, we also do it for $0 for these nonprofits. They're inspired by it.
It goes without saying. Sasha, what about small and medium corporations and companies who want to apply to you? Maybe they have small budgets to Innovation Protocol to have your expertise. Are you dealing with them, or it should be only
All the
company
time.
with very big budgets?
I don't like big companies with big budgets. It's not fun. We do it because their names are important and their work lasts many years. So it's good for our business for stability. But when we are choosing the market we pursue, we choose medium businesses, small businesses, startups, entrepreneurially run businesses. So, yes, we have many, many that you don't know the name of, but in their category, they're important. Or in this region or that region, they're important.
So
Yes, or
I
they
will
help a very
advise
specific
our listeners to write. Maybe it's possible to write to you directly, to write to Innovation Protocol, to connect with you, and to give their ideas, to explain who they are, and maybe you can start communicate, because branding now is really very important. And my final question to you is from people who are not who don't like publicity, because at the end of the days, it's not for everybody. And for them, it's difficult, but they need to do it because, let's say, maybe if they're the owners of the companies, they need to speak, they need to be on public. And they say, for us, we are struggling. We don't like to be on public, to share our personal details because it's our life. But at the same time, if we are not in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, if we don't exist. How to solve this problem?
Okay. So for anyone who has the issue that you just described, I have to say a very painful truth, which is that people don't buy what they don't know exists. So you work so hard to make that restaurant. You work so hard to build that business. And you have a good service, you have a good product, but you're not going to get customers if people don't know that you exist. So don't build a business. If you're not going to communicate the business, don't build it. That's the first thing. Second thing is that the business is an identity itself. It does not require you to be the identity. So your restaurant has a name, your restaurant has an energy, your restaurant has an experience. That is what you market. You don't have to market yourself as the person who founded the restaurant. If you want to keep your personal life private, that's fine. So do not feel like the two are bound together. Now, sometimes it's interesting to know who the chef is. Sometimes it's interesting to know where the recipes come from, but it's not required. So don't think that to brand and market your business, you have to brand and market yourself. You do not,
For
but
innovation
you do.
protocol, you're not promoting your company, or you're promoting yourself.
We promote the company. I mean, I work there. I'm an employee like everyone else. You know, privately, I'm the owner. But innovation protocol is an engine. It's its own thing. It does its own activities. The employees make their own choices. They work on projects, and I'm not involved. That's the point. Is that even when I had one employee, I did not call the company Sasha Strauss Incorporated. I called the company Innovation Protocol. We are the protocol for brands that innovate. We help organizations that are trying new things tell their story. So that's the point, is that I didn't want to make it about me. I'm very private about my family. I'm very private about my personal choices. I don't tell much about anything. In my bio, it doesn't tell anyone that I'm a father. It doesn't tell anyone that I'm a husband. That's my business, private business, personal business. But innovation protocol, it has its own colors, it has its own website, it has its own energy. And that is where people connect. That's the relationship they have, not with me, with the business. And my point is that people wouldn't buy our services if they didn't know innovation protocol existed. So innovation protocol communicates. There are articles, there are webinars, there's speeches, there's events. Why? So that people know that innovation protocol exists, so that they will buy services from it. And that's the responsibility. Don't build a business if you're not going to communicate it.
Or find people who will communicate it in your team with you. Then you don't need to put your name there. There can be press secretary on behalf of that and taking part in the events, because nowadays it's interesting that a lot of my first job, I'm director and producer of the movies. A lot of companies, brands, they say, Olga, make a movie about us for our teams. Let's say if the company is 10,000 people, they're already big and people don't know where they're working in, what they're doing,
Yes.
who is working in their company, what is the culture of the company, what is the spirit of the company. And for them, it's important to create the atmosphere of the company so they know, because when it's 30 people, it's one thing. When it's 10,000 people, it's like a small, small country. They need to know what is the culture, what is the spirit, what is the mood. And it's very interesting. I think the knowledge that you are sharing, because you are so passionate about branding and you spent so many years, you are in love with this topic and you master it and you study it and you innovate it. So it's very, very important. And me personally, I will also write to you, because I'm very interested what and how we can grow our brand of hidden hero of the platform and of the service of creating movies for businesses to grow businesses, to make their brands more famous. We do movies for TV channels. It's on different topics. Let's say why people love each other for 70 years. Lately, we made a movie about people who are 80 years old, believe it or not, husband and wife, and they're in love with each other for 70 years. since they are 10. So this is more humanitarian mission. As you said, 10% we give just to investigate that love still exists. Because it's important for us to, as you said, to inspire ourselves by the idea that still, regardless of our politicians, regardless, we can love each other. And nobody can stop us from loving each other. Nobody can say, oh, you cannot love this person because no, it's my choice. I can love whom I love.
Exactly.
And that's interesting. So I hope and I'd be happy to be in touch with you. Thank you for being in love with that topic about branding. And it sounds not that terrible, so difficult. It sounds like fun. At the end
It
of the
is fun. It is fun. And what's really special, unlike law or medicine, anyone can do branding. All of us have the capability. We just need to make choices. We need to emphasize those choices and make the experience of those choices consistent, and we could build trust with our audience so they come back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really very interesting. And I'm sure that it was very helpful. I learned a lot from you, Sasha.